What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Passionate DJ Podcast. I'm your host, David Michael, and this is our annual New Year's special. Now, this year we decided to combine our holiday show with our New Year's show. Usually we do a holiday record exchange, but all things considered with what's going on this year, we didn't think it was a great idea to go out, go record shopping, then all get back into the room and pass things around. So we just decided to keep it simple and combine it into this episode for New Year's. And today's music is going to be provided by our very own Trip Turlington. I highly recommend that you watch the YouTube version of this show if you're listening on your phone, because we put a lot of clips in and editing and stuff like that, though it does work perfectly fine as the audio-only version. Now, Trip is playing on a pair of Denons today. One of them is the SC5000 and one is the SC6000, so he gives his impressions and compares the two a little bit as we play. He plays a couple different segments with a few different styles of music represented, and we talk about the year in review, the episodes that we published this year, and other stuff that we did. Unfortunately, Mo Dingo couldn't join us in studio, but he does appear in the middle for a news segment that we drop in, so stay tuned for that. But all in all, we just wanted to wish you a happy new year, and we're really excited for what Passionate DJ has to bring in the coming year. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, and now on to Trip Turlington with some great tunes. All right, welcome back to the Passionate DJ Podcast. Today, behind the decks, we have the one, the only, the very talented Mr. Trip Turlington.
Hi!
So we're getting started with some drum and bassy type business. I don't want to be misnaming the genre. Is liquid close enough, or neuro, or what's the?
No, definitely not neuro. It's I consider this like a little bit more into like the tech step, but definitely with some liquid vibes in there. Like I don't know. Drum and bass especially is like kind of taken a couple of different turns over the years. So like so many different like styles have mishmashed together now that it's very hard to like draw some certain lines. Like
I feel that about every genre of music.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely started off like a little bit more minimal, techie, whatever, and then kind of built it up from there. So yeah.
So are we having a drum and bass Christmas, or are you thinking you're going to mix it up, explore a little bit, or you don't know what's going on?
Not a clue. We'll see what's
awesome.
On the hard drive.
That's my favorite. Awesome. we're having a little bit of an experiment while we're doing our holiday show today.
That's
which
true.
is to, we brought one of your Denon players over.
That's true.
But we also have an SC6000 as compared to the 5000 that you brought. We have on loan from the DJ Hookup currently. And so we said, hey, it would be kind of fun to just throw one of each player on there and then kind of give your thoughts as someone who's already really familiar with the 5000s.
Right.
And see if there's anything different that you like or dislike about it and give your thoughts. So maybe after the next time we take a break, you can kind of let us know if there's anything that you're, hiccups or anything that you're running into with it. But our first impressions, good or bad so far?
Good, really good.
Yeah.
I would say the first couple of things off the top of my head is, you can't get past the screen. Like, that is a massive screen on the 6000. And usually I'm not one that buys into, bigger screen means better, but I think we've gone into my library management style in a previous episode, but the very short version is I use the comment section with a series of very short codes. So when I sort by comment, then on the 5000, then I can see the first few codes, whereas over here it's like, oh, there's all my stuff. So
A lot more information at a glance.
right, and it's kind of got both of them have a marquee. So if you push on one, then it scrolls the whole thing, so you can see whatever you need to see on the track info. But going over here, it's really nice to be able to not have to. What's that one? What's that one? What's that one? So,
can you maybe quickly describe to the listeners how we have this all hooked up and connected as far as the channels and the Ethernet network and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So the SC6000 we've got set up on channel 1 and 2, the Ethernet going into the hub of an X1800 in port 1. So that puts layer 1 on channel 1 and layer B or layer A on channel 1, layer B on 2, and then conversely over here the 5000 is on channels 3 and 4 with the Ethernet going into port 3, and then that puts layer A on 3 and layer B on 4.
So we are doing dual decks, 4 channels, or however you want to put it.
Correct.
Two players, 4 channels.
Right. I for now I was just playing on the 2 channels on 1 and 3 just to kind of get warmed up, but
Yeah.
And then I've set all of the colors to the Passionate DJ blue and purple, or as close to it as I can get. And then I've got
That's so thoughtful.
right. And then I've got our logo here in the platters.
What's up, Passionate DJ Nation? It is your dude Mo Dingo, and I am here to talk to you about some things that happened in the United States Congress this week that might impact you as a DJ or a streamer. Earlier this week in the United States Congress, a coronavirus relief package was approved by Congress estimated at over $3 trillion. However, there was language woven into that bill specifically addressing copyright and trademark infringement, more specifically as it applies to streaming. This is all championed by North Carolina Congressman Tom Tillis. The language comes from the Copyright Alternative and Small Claims Enforcement Act, also known as the CASE Act of 2019. Part of the language that's grabbing a lot of attention is the intent to make it a felony to illegally stream copyrighted material. In an article from The Verge, sites identified were those such as NFL Byte, where they take copyrighted licensed games from the National Football League and put them on the internet that would otherwise be blacked out in certain parts of the country. Currently, behaviors like this are only labeled as a misdemeanor, but with this new language from the CASE Act, it would make it a felony and allow the FBI to go pursue action. A statement from the office of Senator Till stated, "The Protecting Lawful Streaming Act will apply only to commercial, for-profit streaming piracy services. The law will not sweep in normal practices by online service providers, good faith business disputes, non-commercial activities, or in any way impact individuals who access pirated streams, unlawfully stream unauthorized copies of copyrighted works. Individuals who might use pirated streaming services will not be affected." On December 16, Twitch held a town hall meeting and stated that they did not feel that these actions would impact their users. According to GeekWire, the Recording Industry Association of America, or RIAA, has submitted almost 3 times as many takedown notices this past year than they have in any previous year. That was evidenced this past October when Twitch summarily decided to delete hundreds of thousands of archived video from a lot of its users. One of Twitch's high-profile users, Pokimang, lost over 4 years of content for which he has no ways of recovering that data. After all those deletions, Twitch later sent out a mass email explaining the situation and apologizing for its action. Also in the CASE Act, it establishes somewhat of a small claims court to where damages of up to $30,000 could be awarded to any complainant. So what does this mean to us, the DJ who likes to do the occasional online stream and not necessarily rebroadcast a UFC fight or a UEFA football match? Although it says the intent is to go after those that are redistributing that copyrighted material, that doesn't necessarily mean at some point they could drill that down and come after everyday DJs like myself. Me personally, I don't really want to pay a $30,000 fine, so where does this leave us in the future? Not really sure, especially here in the United States. Copyright infringement happens in different mediums all over the world, but specifically in the United States, they're very attentive to it and will pursue action. In other parts of the world, DJs are required to have licenses in order to play copyrighted music. Could that be a possible solution in the United States? Who knows? But would I be willing to pay a small fee to protect my content from being taken down? I don't know, that depends on what the fee is and what the stipulations are. Keep in mind, this has only been approved, it hasn't been passed. I'd keep your eyes peeled and go ahead and take a look at the document for yourself. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below and let us know how you feel this might impact all of us as passionate DJs. That's all I have for now. I'm Mo and I'm out.
since you've been playing on hardware again, do you miss the laptop at all?
Not
do you
at
miss
all.
Serato? Is
Not
there
at
any? Nothing?
No, not
There's
at
no
all.
part of it that you miss?
No.
Library management, none of that?
No, because once you get into these like really interactive and intuitive screens, I mean that's basically everything that the laptop was doing. And if nothing else, you're getting rid of, this layer right here that, for so many years was a barrier between you and the audience. And some of us got to a point where we were like putting it over here, but like every 2 seconds you're going over here and doing this, so it was like, there was a trade-off, when you're playing and you're in the mix, then you've got that audience engagement, but then, if you need everything, in a heads-up display, then you're putting something between you and the audience. So.
Yeah. And on that 6,000, man, it's about the size of an iPad anyway. So you're.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I don't remember the specs on that, but that's every bit of what, 7 inches?
I think it was 9.1 or something. It's massive, or 8 point something. I'm gonna get called out in the comments. I made the video and then forgot, so I'm gonna get called out in the comments.
Right. But yeah, man, I mean, it's definitely a solid unit. I mean. If I needed to upgrade, or like if I needed to replace one of these, I would not hesitate in buying one of these, for sure.
Nice. All right, man. Well, you ready to play some more tunes?
Sure.
Awesome. Well, let's get on with it, man. We love hearing what you do, and it's been, I think, since Fam Jam that you played on the channel. So.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's been a while, and that back then we could like get a bunch of people in the room and almost throw a little party, and now we're all spread out and weird, but it's the way it goes.
He didn't bring pickle chips either.
Oh yeah, the pickle chips.
So it's 2020, so I think I know the answer already. But any big holiday plans, Trip Turlington?
No.
How are you handling the holidays?
I'm doing okay. I don't think I'm gonna so my older 2 girls they don't live with us, and one is away at college, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to like spend any significant time with them right now. So that's a real bummer, but we're all making do the best we can.
It's pretty rough. We had pretty much, we being me and my wife, and we'd pretty much decided we're just not going to really do anything as far as extended family or anything. And then, but as we were kind of deciding that, it was like, oh, both sides of my family have it going on, somewhere in line. So it's like, all right, the decision's pretty much well made for us at this point, so we're keeping it tight. But
yep, same. I had a whole side of my family that all contracted. Some of them were even hospitalized. Like it was, so it's all hit, a little too close to home, which is, why, all of the, precautions, like we're taking them a little more seriously than I think other people might. But we also have my wife's 92-year-old grandfather that she takes care of, that her and her sister take care of on weekends and stuff like that. So, we've just been doing our best to minimize all of that. And then, with how it hit here in Ohio and all of this, I mean, I'm not going to get into any of the politics of all of that, but like,
Thank you.
Right, exactly. I think we're all burned out on that. Right. But like my job, I've been working from home since August or September, something like that. Or no, I was back at work in August and September, went back home at the end of October or something. So like, I don't know. Like I've been what I do know is I've been working more than half the year from home.
Gotcha.
So
today's Tuesday, right?
Is it?
I'm just starting to say that every day. Like, it's Tuesday, right?
I had to do the same thing
Tuesday's
a few
my
times.
default.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy.
But so yeah, we're making do. I think we're going to do some Zoom calls with some people, for the holidays, stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, just to make sure that like it's acknowledged. It's not like, oh, COVID, can't talk to anybody.
believe. What did I expect? Take it all, break down my walls just to watch me crumble, just to watch me fall. Take it all, break down my walls just to watch me crumble, just to watch, 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 watch.
Yo, what's up, everybody? As it is clear to see, 1, 2, 3, I am your boy, Recalcitrant MC. Ha. Now, for real, what's up? Passionate DJ Podcast, man, 2020, the year in review. I can't even. Anyway, thank you so much for having me on in past shows. I look forward to everything that's to come in the future. So for me, 2020, like most people, was a bit chaotic, some ups, some downs, and a lot of sideways. So I spent the year getting my production chops up. We obviously couldn't do a lot of live performances, so while we did get in some live streams, a lot of people did, I juiced up this setup to make sure I could get a live stream I liked, and then spent the rest of the time back there in the studio working on tracks that I hope are coming for you in 2021. Actually, I know they're coming. The question is whether we get them out independently or we take them straight up to the big leagues. So I hope everybody's doing great. I hope you took this year to advance yourself and your skill set and love of the craft. Once again, thanks so much, everybody. Recalcitrant MC, aka Firecat 451. And I'll leave you with just a little touch of what I've been working on. So, take care, everybody. Peace.
Alright, now while Trip is smashing through some dark techno business, let's go ahead and talk about some of the Passionate DJ podcast episodes that we released in 2020. Now, episode 192, we started out with The Lost Episode. This is on January 13th. It was recorded a year earlier than that, but we just never published it. And this was a freeform discussion about various topics such as Tony's adventures on the road. Of course, he had still been working the festival circuit at the time. Mo Dingo's experience with the then new DDJ 1000. Our time at Dayton Podfest, which was basically a live event that Mo and I spoke at, and much more. Episode 193 was about NAMM 2020. This was a recap for DJs. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the NAMM show in person like I did in 2019, though looking back, maybe that was a good thing. This episode basically summarized the DJ-related hardware releases that happened during that month. So we talked about the Denon DJ SC6000 and SC6000M Prime, the X1850 Prime, the Prime 2 and Prime Go. So basically, it was a very heavy year for Denon. Pioneer DJM V10 mixer, the Newmark DJ2Go 2 Touch, the Rain 70, and the Akai MPC-1. Community queries came in for episode 194. This was an episode where I scrolled through the past few months of posts on our Facebook community group, which you can get to at passionatedj.com/community, and just basically did a Q&A session. We talked about stuff like creating flow in a mix, giving thoughts on the Reloop Cut mixer, staying prepared to play on anything as a DJ, and much more. Episode 195, Rethinking Our Home Studios. We did this one in February, and all four of us Passionate DJ co-hosts had been sort of changing up our DJ booths and our production desks at the time, and so we just got together and talked about the various reasons that we made these modifications, such as aesthetics, convenience, ergonomics, efficiency, stuff like that. Then in episode 196, titled New Music, New Mountains. This was the first time that Cody and Jared of the band Crystal Grid were on the show since they had moved across the country. So we took some time to catch up with the fellas and got some updates on their previous year. Really looking forward to catching up with these guys again because both of them have exciting projects going on. Springing Forward, episode 197. Of course, this came out in the spring. And we talked about the latest news and happenings in the DJ industry in the preceding months, starting with the COVID-19, which was we were just starting to come to terms with at the time, and the potential effect it was going to have on the festival scene. We also did a large segment where we explored the new division of techno as defined by Beatport, where they split it off into peak, driving, and hard versus raw, deep, and hypnotic. Episode 198. This is always one of my favorites, Bad DJ Gigs. This was the third installment of our Bad DJ Gigs episode. We released this one in April, and it featured several previous guests of the podcast, and we also took several submissions from our Facebook community group. Now, since the world was basically on lockdown, we thought it was a good time to kind of maybe remember how it isn't always sunshine and rainbows to go out and gig. Episode 199 was titled Mighty Mo's Workout Playlist. And in this episode, Mo Dingo shared some of his favorite workout tracks and his reasons behind choosing them. Now, Mo is a fitness coach, a health nut, and so he was uniquely qualified to talk about this. He spent a lot of time DJing for people while they're literally working out, doing CrossFit, lifting, or just generally getting sweaty. On May 4th, we had a huge milestone. We released episode 200. And just like episode 100, we wanted to bring in lots of previous guests from the show. And so with the help of Tony, we were able to, unfortunately, for obvious reasons, we couldn't get together in the room, but we did put together a huge Zoom call and put together a show for episode 200. We featured B-Funk, Fatty Lumpkin, Mr. Shifter, John Chappell, Kim L., Bitflip, Matt Freeman, Mike Donovan, Firecat451, and then we had a special drop-in guest, which was event producer and rave legend, Disco Donnie. We also announced our new Twitch channel, which you can find at twitch.tv/passionatedj. In episode 201, had a little fun with the title there, Immobile DJs. This one came out in May. We spoke to longtime fans and passionate DJ ambassadors, Sean, aka DJ Freeman, and Noel, aka DJ Serato. Now, we talked about mobile DJing, or the current lack thereof, and basically, we wanted to know how professional mobile DJs were coping with the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders. In June, we released Keeping It Fresh, episode 202. We had Mark Nagel, also known as Bitflip, return from episode 200. Now, he's been a supporter and proprietor of Midwest dance music culture for over 15 years. So we discussed event promotions, DJ hardware, collaborations, portablism, and much more. Now, in the middle of the year, we started to realize that lots of people were really taking on to live streaming. So in episode 203, we came out with basic live streaming advice for DJs. We brought on another longtime fan and passionate DJ ambassador, DJ Brains, also known as Leo. And Leo joined us to discuss how to make sure our streams look great, sound great, and keep a stable connection. Episode 204 was Black AM Takes the Lead. Now, we talked to Vegas-based DJ producer Black AM, and in addition to sharing some of his original productions, we talked about his journey through music, including his former role as lead guitarist for Machine Gun Kelly and touring with Nightmare. Great guest. Would love to have him back in the actual studio as soon as we can do that. Episode 205 was a huge undertaking. This came out in July, and this was an audio-video companion to my popular guide, How to Become a DJ. And you can find that at passionatedj.com/howtodj. And this basically covers a 9-step process to assist in your journey of learning how to DJ. Now, since its original form in 2013, this guide has helped thousands of beginner DJs to get their start. Gently Down the Stream, episode 206. This was sort of an industry update episode. We looked at the latest happenings in the digital DJing space and talked about our personal struggles with the idea of DJing using streaming music services in a live environment. In episode 207, we were joined by Fatty Lumpkin in the episode called Shacked Up. Now, we call him Dave Chappelle's resident DJ because he plays regular private gigs for the comic legend. He's a highly skilled turntablist, a hip-hop aficionado, and just an all-around nice guy. Episode 208 was kind of a big deal. We had Xander live in studio. This came out in August, and this was kind of our first time trying out this new live mix plus interview format, such as the episode that you're listening to right now. Now, Columbus-based DJ producer Xander came in and played all original tunes for us, which was really great. And we talked about his approach to dance music, which is very accessible, but also has a lot of underground influence. Episode 209, a very popular episode, hands-on with the Pioneer CDJ 3000. Now, the show, me, Tony, Trip, and Mo spent about an hour playing with the brand new players and just gave our first impressions. In episode 210, Drive-In Concerts, a little slice of normalcy. Now, Tony DeCero told us all about the recent drive-in concert phenomenon that sprung up during an otherwise dismal year for live events. So we talked about these sort of socially distant music experiences from Tony's perspective while working with Prime Social Group. And then in episode 211, Lights, Camera, Access. Now, this was the return of DJ Access, who joined us in studio for an interview and live performance. We talked about the new Machine Plus that had just come out, the CDJ 3000, DJing in the COVID era, streaming services, and much more. And then the episode that we just released on Christmas Eve 10 years ago, 2010. So episode 212, we talked about 2010, we talked about the pop culture and the music, what was popular in the world of DJing, the films that were released that year, some notable events, the people we lost, and so on. Now, this was our 4th annual 10 years ago episode. The first 2 were when we were still audio only. Now, in addition to all of these great episodes, we also released a lot of great YouTube content, including unboxings, first looks, hardware reviews, some killer scratch sessions with Fatty Lumpkin, DJ Access, and of course our boy Tony. We did a few live streams on Twitch, including a great Deep House session with Mike Donovan and the reunion show for the Asylum nightclub. Now, admittedly, in 2020, the podcast became a little loosey-goosey on timelines and release dates, but I must say the production values increased, we put lots more focus on video, we put lots more focus on actual music and DJing, and we are really happy with the new direction and the new things that we're doing with the show and experimenting with these formats. Now, we'll be releasing lots more episodes just like this one, or the ones with DJ Access or Xander. You know, your live performance with interviews and segments played throughout, and cool stuff to look at if you're watching the YouTube version. Now, it won't be every show, but we're really enjoying experimenting with it and, bringing you some actual performances. But we want to know what you think, so be sure to comment it up and give us your thoughts. last segment, would, if you were playing in a venue, would that be like a Digital Psychosis situation or a Trip Turlington?
It could be either one.
That bridges the gap.
Yeah, probably that one would probably be more. I would probably be more apt to put that under the Digital Psychosis label.
Okay.
Just because of how much it kind of flows back in that way. When I first started going by my name, that was like the defining break. There was I was playing break beats, drum and bass, glitch hop, and a little bit of dubstep. You know, so some of the all of that broken beat stuff was Trip Turlington, and everything else was Digital Psychosis. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. Like, but like over time, you know, the lines blurred, and then I was just like, you know, I'll just do everything under Trip Turlington because it was too much to try to maintain two different things. But then I came back around, and I was like, well, maybe if I brand them both, and then I put all the effort into it, and then I was like, yeah, it's a lot of work. So I ebb and flow between the two. At one point, I have like a whole folder of like, 6 to 8 different pseudonym monikers and stuff like that, with like different ideas for those projects and all of that stuff, and start to execute it. Like at one point, I was going by Geronimo Jackson, but instead of CKS and Jackson, it was 3 X's, and the concept behind that one was all Booty House and Ghetto Tech.
The triple X.
Right. Clever.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is DJ B-Funk, wishing Passionate DJ a happy new year. You guys asked me to come out and give a shout out to the show. Still supporting, still loving it. Yeah, what I've been up to, not a whole lot, not DJing outside the house. Moved my stuff indoors, did about 4 weddings this year, when normally I do about 25, which is just crazy, but it's COVID, so, but yeah, this is my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/PapaBfunk. I do a show called The Nostalgia Machine every Sunday at 2 o'clock, where I dive into music that I own from 1990 to 2010, and it's awesome. Is there something different about streaming online? Piece of advice for everybody who's thinking about it or worried about it: just do it. It's going to be hard. Your first streams are going to be really bad, but then you're going to figure it out, and then you're going to get some energy from it that you can't get on the dance floor. I guess my piece of advice is, online streaming is different than in person, and you get different things. So you get things that you can't get from the dance floor. I can play a Ronnie Size track and then an Orbital track and a Prodigy song from 1992, and there's no dance floor to clear. It's for me, and if people show up, they can show up, and I'll also let people know there's some money in it. So anyway, love the show. Keep supporting the stuff, and I hope to see you guys somewhere on a dance floor in person in 2021. Peace.
My man.
Yo.
So, you started that out like, I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to like dark techno, tech house, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, nope, prog time is sneaking in, little bit hints of trance, but not, like, don't call it that, but it's in there, like all the. What I'm saying is, I really was into all the pretty melodies and the pads and all the gated synths and all that stuff that you were playing in the midst of all that techno, right up probably your alley too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
love that shit.
The cool stuff about the cool thing about that stuff is that like it's so easy to play with the layers.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Tony, you and I have been around for a long time, and we've seen many techno TJ come in and out of our scene, and I think it's the ones that like try a little bit harder to make it unique, instead of just playing one track after another.
Right.
I tend to play out tracks a little bit more than a lot of other techno DJs, but like at the same time, I've got all 4 decks going. So
right.
there's probably any number of effects that
I
are
feel
going.
like all those styles too are pretty relatable within the mix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like prog and techno and tech house, especially the way techno is where it started when we, early days to where it is now, because now it's got a good progressive feel to it. Not all of it, but,
Right.
So this is Passionate DJ. I mean, as far as the track selection of that kind of stuff goes, like what kind of stuff do you look for? Tell me about the feels of this kind of music.
I like stuff that, for lack of a better term, has some balance to it. Like when I listen to a track, I'm not thinking about just that track. I'm thinking, what other things can I layer on top of it? What other things can I bring into it? What can I mix in and out? Where would it sit in a mix? So I tend to go for a bunch of different stuff. So like, I really like the dark and brooding stuff, really deep, heavy, thick bass lines, and a lot of like, really techie, elements going on. But at the same time, I do like, anything that like has a hint of that like airy, like for lack of a better term, like you said, it's almost like reminiscent or, what's left out of the evolution of trance.
Yeah.
It's like, evolution has all of these different branches, right? And, so this one, happened to go this way and it just held on to that little piece of tail, right?
The stuff that you're playing, while it sounds modern and fresh in like a dance techno kind of sense, it also really harkens back to some of those kind of ravey sounds,
right,
which is really awesome, and which it's basically rave music maybe slowed down 10 BPM or something.
Right, exactly. Like, and 10 or 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I mean, we were playing all that like real high speed energy trance stuff, at 135 to 145 beats per minute, depending on the label. So the cool part about all that is that like, that's kind of my roots when it comes to DJing was, when I first started playing, or when I first started going to parties and stuff like that, at the time it was all like techno, house music, break beats, and then drum and bass was like shoved off into a coat closet in the back, right? But over time, once I started getting into DJing, that was like the rise of like the progressive epic-y trance stuff. So when I'm playing like modern day techno, or what I call it progressive. Like to me, that's what that kind of sound is. I think Beatport like shit the bed and like calls it what do they call it?
God,
melodic house or something. Melodic.
They have
melodic techno or
Yeah, there's so many subgenres of techno now.
Right. And I was just like, no,
you can't call it progressive house or progressive trance. You have to call it techno. So then they put melodic in front of it.
Right.
And you can play the same
and
stuff.
then it's what we called prog 20 years ago.
Right.
You know, like
Melodic is I feel like the perfect term because
Right.
it's techno with melodic elements.
Yeah, it's definitely not wrong.
right, but
Yeah.
It's
It's
I
just
guess
kind of funny.
from a shopper's perspective, who's been in this, long enough to know, what progressive is, or at least what we called progressive back then.
I mean, that's how I came into it as well as
Yeah.
trance, and I'll always love, no matter how dark a set of mine will ever be, I'll still put tons of melodic elements in my sets. I mean, I just love good feeling, like pull on your heart,
Yeah.
I love
Absolutely.
Yeah, even all the trance that I played, it was like I always picked stuff that was like reflective and like major, like the really like, for lack of a better term, like emotional stuff. So like I just didn't play anything because it had a super saw synth in it. Like it had to have something. That some elements that would work in like some, like I said, some emotional, moody, brooding kind of thing. And then of course, you have your progression, and you take them on the ride. But yeah, very rarely did I just have anything that was like sunshine, whatever.
Right.
I think the closest thing was like on one of my demo CDs like 20 years ago. I had a DJ Mindex Colors. And the vocal was either a child or a female with a very childlike voice, and she's and the kid is saying blue, green, yellow, red, blue, green, yellow, red, right? And it just over and over and over, very repetitive. But then when you get to the breakdown, talking about a rainbow bridge and like all this other crazy, like, then it's all very like pretty and like I was like. But yeah,
that's when both tabs hit you at the same time. And you're like,
Exactly.
As it relates to kind of, I guess, trancey music or like dance music with that kind of melodic sound to it, it's kind of a shame because it's hard to introduce people to that kind of music if they're not already into it these days. But one thing that I've noticed is, at least here in the States, that melodic stuff has slipped into hip hop.
Oh yeah.
Not only in even your harder beats and stuff, but your Post Malone and your St. John and those type of artists, right? So I think that all you have to do is take somebody who likes that kind of hip hop and EDM and then play them something like that, and suddenly they might get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the thing I like about music like this is because it creates an emotional connection without necessarily having the use of vocals.
Right.
It's just melodies and harmonies and brain trickery through different tonal structures. You know what I mean? It's all just music, and when you get it, you get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because early on when I was first starting to discover all of this kind of music, you get into like Prodigy and Moby and stuff like that, but like a lot of that stuff wasn't necessarily like DJ friendly, not in the pure rave underground sense of the term. But then you had all of these remix artists that were taking those popular songs and then turning them into dance floor friendly stuff. So it got to be really cool to hanging out with some people who like this, and then I got a remix of that, and then be able to
familiarize them with
suck
that.
them in a little bit further, and bring them on in. So the quintessential example of that, right, is Sarah McLachlan, Silence, and then there was 5, maybe 10, maybe 2,000 remixes.
Yeah. Heroes.
But no matter what, nobody will say that they've never heard the Tiesto's In Search of Sunrise remix. That one was the remix.
The one.
Yeah, I mean, I think more people know that one than they know the original. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So that was a really cool time. But and it is neat to see how, like, you know, after 20-something years, you know, the waves and the evolution of music and what genres borrow from other ones and stuff like that. I mean, you know, so yeah, I when I'm picking out music, that's one of the things that I do look for is, like, you know, I gotta have some of the dark and really heavy, like really aggressive stuff, very drummy, you know, percussive stuff, but then you gotta balance it out. What else can I mix in to fill the whole thing out?
Well, how have you been staying sane as you've been mostly locked up, shacked up at home throughout the year, now that we've kind of come to the end of 2020?
I'm a latchkey 90s kid, so I was built for this. I've got, video. The only thing that's been driving me nuts is the PS5. You motherfucking...
Yeah, the bots and...
between bots and, like, literally everybody under the sun trying to get their hands on one. So, like, that's the hot ticket item. I haven't had I didn't do any of the PlayStation 4. I had a PlayStation 3. And then when it fried out, then I just said, I'll just stick with the Xbox. And, so rode that wave. And then I got an Xbox One last year. So now all these new gen, things are coming out. I'm like, well, if we're going to be, hold up, might as well grab one, right?
It's nice to see that both Microsoft and Sony are taking care to putting some effort into backwards compatibility.
Right.
So there's an existing library instead of, if the Xbox came out with, 2 games? It's like, all right, you'd be pissed if... That's kind of how the PS4 was when it first came out. It was like Battlefield 4 and 1 or 2 other things.
Yep.
Whereas at least now you can you can play all the way back to...
Right.
Not every game, but most, especially if you have it on physical copy and
right. And I think that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to jump on it was because of that backwards compatibility. So, but I mean, it's just there was like a period of maybe 2 weeks where I was following all the Twitters and what else? There was the auto refresh bots and all of that stuff on Chrome. So I had everything all set up and so every time something would go live or every time I would see the tweets and say, okay, here we go, and no. With Sony, whenever you tried to get to one direct from Sony, it was a queue. So you try to get in and then they put you into this queue and then there's a little status bar, and for everybody it would say over an hour, and then I might have only seen it move a little bit, but apparently it was supposed to be randomized or whatever to give everybody a fair shake, but I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So Walmart, what I thought nobody could out fuck up this thing than Walmart. Walmart, I think, was the one that was most susceptible to the bots or something like that. Because I mean, as soon as that button came on, you hit add to cart and it says all sold out. I mean, you didn't have a flying fuck chance of nothing.
I'm just not the one that needs to have day one console. I think out of everything in this room, the Dreamcast is the only thing I pre-ordered, and that was in 1999.
Really?
So I'll get it.
Well,
I'll fucking get it. It'll be fine.
And I'm the same way. I don't think I've ever bought a video game system on launch. Never. But so I was like, okay, but that was my thought process. It was the decision that, okay, well, we're not locked down, but we are social distancing. We're limiting our all of that stuff. So if we're going to be home more, it's an investment, right?
Yeah.
And so then after the first few times, couldn't get it from Walmart, couldn't get it from here, couldn't get it from there, and I was like, oh, now this is a challenge. And all of these bots are buying them up and then throwing them on eBay and StockX for $1,000 to $1,500. Now I'm like, I am not paying that. You got me fucked up with somebody else. And it's absolutely insane. So then I'm like, okay, now it's a challenge, and this is a challenge I have to overcome. So then after I think it was 2 weeks, and at the end of the second week, it was when Best Buy did another drop. And then Target did a drop, and Walmart did another drop, and it was all of that within a couple of few days of each other. And Sony's doing intermittent drops in between. So literally after every single thing, every queue I got into, every time, Best Buy, like I said, I thought Walmart was the one who screwed up the worst. Best Buy, I never even saw the add to cart button. It kept saying coming soon. And I'm watching the map, the availability map that says, you can pick this up in an hour at Beaver Creek. well, I can't because I can't add it to the cart. And then it says, not available at Beaver Creek, but within 15 miles, within 50 miles, within 200 miles, and then it says out of stock. And I'm like, I never even saw a button to add to cart.
Wow.
So after all of that, it was like after 2 weeks of trying, then I was like, you know what? I came to that, I was in the same boat. Like I don't care enough about having it on day one.
Yeah.
To really be stressing about this. So, and it was just one of those things where, I bet I could beat the system now. And no, couldn't. Yeah. So I said, all right, fuck it. I'll wait until, February, March, April, whenever, there's some on a shelf and I can walk in and go pick one up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an adult human.
Right.
Well, I would pass the same question to you, Tony, but I think I know the answer about how you've been staying sane through 2020, and that's scratching.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call that sane. I'm still going insane.
Oh,
for
fair
sure.
enough.
Yeah, no.
But man, your skills have leveled up. Tenfold this year, I would say.
You. Yeah, it's all. That's really all I've been doing. That and Warzone.
That's it. There you
back
go.
Back and forth.
So, what have you been working on skill-wise lately? Because I know, even just the past, 2 times I've seen you, there's been a marked difference in your scratching and, your level of comfort with a certain thing.
Watching a lot of Beat Junkies TV. They do a thing, it's called Homeroom. It's on YouTube. It's free. And they do their warm-up, the first, 3 or 4 minutes of it. It's just typical, releasing a sample or a simple chirp, so I was just kind of following them the whole time. They would do a bar, you would do a bar.
Yeah.
They would do a bar, you would copy the bar.
Yep.
Same thing, back and forth. So I started kind of doing that and getting back to the basic sounds of scratching. And for the longest time, I was always starting with the fader off, and now I'm starting with the fader on and kind of going backwards with it. And that kind of developed into those single, double, triple click flares, and once I started to learn those, something started to click. Well, when we did the day here with Fatty, when Fatty was here and him and I were scratching together, he was actually just over the other night, and I told him it was something really clicked, because I'm really used to scratching to the fast beats and the Miami style scratching. But when he was here and we were doing the slower beats and the hip hop beats, it kind of something clicked with the march and the stretch of the whole sample, and using the whole sample and not just the tip of the sample, using the whole sample and being comfortable with using it and clicking in between the whole time.
I was hoping you would bring that up. That was the main thing that I noticed the last time that I saw you scratch, was that you were so confident in where the needle was where in the sample the needle was. You know what I mean? Your hand just kind of knew where to go, whereas before I think it was maybe tempting to grab the chirp, the start of the sample.
Yes.
For that kind of Miami style,
Yes.
And now you're not. You could choose to do that, but now you're not doing that as your default. Now you're traveling around that sample, which is really cool to see that something click that,
Yeah, and that all kind of stemmed from the night I was here with Fatty, and then when he came over the other night, I think he was there till 3 a.m. I didn't say that, Mike DeWine. He was over till 3 o'clock in the morning. And we scratched and went into a little bit of juggling and things like that. But it just, the more I'm around people that have different patterns, I learn. And he's just dude, he's he said, you remind me of Paul, which is a guy that he started with, because I can watch somebody do something and start practicing it.
Mimic it.
And then mimic it and learn it. And that's what I was doing. I just
hell yeah, man,
picked up different styles by watching people, and that's what I did with Homeroom, by watching them. And there's no way I can do even a quarter of what those guys do, you know, but some of the things, and it's just starting to click a lot more. Instead of scratching, now it's transforming, walking through the sample, and you know. And
waiting for that Tony DeCero routine.
Right?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I got
Like
a long way to go, man. Baby steps.
the Tony DeCero, Peter Piper, whatever equivalent.
Nice.
All right, homie, you want to play some more tunes to send us out? You have a few more minutes?
Yeah, I could do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You just play as long as you want, man, and then when you're done, you're done. I think that's good.
Right on.
Give us some
Yeah.
good tunes, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Yo, what is up, passionate DJs? This is DJ Access from Columbus, Ohio, wishing everyone a happy new year. 2020 was interesting. I'm not going to say it was bad. I'm not going to say it was good. I did a lot of what you're seeing right here, flying an X-Wing around. Ever since this game came out, it's been kind of fun. Much like some of you, I've really taken to streaming, both music and games. I actually got to play a bunch of weddings this year, so that was really nice as well. But one of the highlights of the year was coming down to Dayton and cutting it up with Tony and talking to David. I think they have an awesome new format. I was just talking to B-Funk about that. He reminded me to do this. So, I think you guys got an awesome format going with the music, talking, and then a little freestyle at the end. But I'm excited for what's to come in 2021 for passionate DJs everywhere. From DJ Access in Columbus, Ohio, Happy New Year.
the jam is pumping, looking at the crowd is jumping. And the jam is pumping, looking at the crowd is jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on the dance floor. And the jam is pumping, looking at the crowd is jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on the dance floor. And the jam is pumping, looking at the crowd is jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on the dance floor.
The general state of things and how it affected us as DJs and here at Passionate DJs is kind of like a bit disappointing because as you get older it becomes harder to like you can't just like go gigging like 5 nights a week and shit like that, right? So like we really have started to find a way to like to be able to play and share our craft, and the streaming and all that kind of technology is right now in a way that it wasn't even 5 years ago, and there are hiccups and struggles with that, but by and large we have a way to do it.
Yeah.
But it was a little frustrating because I know that like you were starting to hit a bit of a stride because you invested in all new gear and everything, and you were like, man, I'm feeling like pumped to like start play out a few shows again, and I hadn't really felt that good in a while.
Yep.
And I think we all were kind of feeling some of that, and then it was like whoa, just cut off, and it was like,
well,
damn
and then it's like, what a weird time, right? To have all of this happen. And then the thing that we all gravitate toward, because we're all artists, because we're all people, we crave that connection. We want to continue what it is that we do. And then we find these digital means, so streaming and all of that. And then, in the great words of James Taylor, I forget what movie it was, but fuck Facebook.
Yeah, all of them are cutting your nuts when it comes to streaming.
Yeah, I mean everybody.
the technology is right, but the industry isn't.
Yep.
And it's just the never-ending struggle.
Yeah,
hurdle
absolutely.
after hurdle.
Yep, because I mean it's just one takedown after another, and so then we all like flooded Zoom, and did like these digital clubs, digital rooms and all that stuff. So I mean that was pretty cool, but like I don't know, it just got to a point where I was just like, it felt like we were all fighting for the same space, and not enough people were taking on the headache of, putting together a whole bunch of those things because there's no money in it. I mean, what are you going to do? Charge people $5 to sit there in their living room?
Right. and then as soon as you start charging money, you even further complicate the problem, right?
Exactly.
Because people care more, and they start coming after you.
So I mean, if people would reach out, I think I did turn down the last two, the 2 or 3 that came my way, but and now that people are starting to get back out, and then I've actually gotten a couple of those calls, and I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable with it yet. I've seen enough firsthand and know enough people that it's affected in that way, and I don't want no part of it. And my whole thing, only to get political for a second, is that I know I said I wouldn't, but people say my freedoms and this and this and this, right? But like a virus doesn't know. It doesn't know about borders. It doesn't care about freedom. It doesn't care. So for me and mine, it's not that we're scared, but it's we're taking the proper precautions until this thing blows over. So, I mean, we'll get through it. Come the new year, we'll see how all the vaccine stuff, works out, and we'll get there.
I'm with you. I haven't had anybody near me contract. Well, a couple people contract it, whatever, not super close, but I've known people. And I'm still, like, people's also called me and said, hey, you want to throw an underground rager? You want to blah, blah, blah,
right,
blah?
Right.
As much as I want to, like, no, not right now.
Right.
Yeah. No.
I love it. It's
Damn
a great
it.
idea, and I really, really want to do it. But, like...
I like this vibe, that sound we play. Bang the drums until it breaks. Get it in with beats and bass. Flip the sound, this is the place. Stay underground, stay true, not fake. Move around to the music we make. Not too hard, just to make you move left to right like an earthquake. Lock in, baby, raise the sound. No games in the underground. Dark beats when we in control. Boom, boom, baby, here we go. Lock in, baby, raise the sound. No games in the underground. Dark beats when we in control. Boom, boom, baby, here we go.
When the time is right, then maybe because people will be itching to get out. There will come a time where building back up the underground scene. I could totally see something like that happening. But doing it out of spite of everything else.
I'm in no rush.
Right, because me personally, I wouldn't want to be responsible for throwing an event that got, however many people sick, and even if one person dies. Like, I would not want to be any part of that.
As opposed to when we were 22 throwing trays in warehouses with 1,500 people not giving a fuck. We're adults now. I care.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
We still cared then, but it's something that we didn't think about back then.
Right. Exactly.
So we're going to start bringing it to a close here as Trip plays his last few minutes of tracks. I want to give a couple of quick thanks. Firstly, of course, to Trip Turlington, also known as Digital Psychosis. Thanks so much to him for sharing this incredible 3-part set, as well as sharing his thoughts with us today. I want to thank him for his contributions to the production value of this show over the years, and also for being a willing recipient of my vent sessions this year. I also want to thank Tony DeCero for his booking and scheduling. He was the one that really got most of our guests in here and kind of did the whole herding cats thing to make sure that we could get the scheduling and the shows out. I also appreciate his ability to keep us on track and his patience with me when I dropped the ball a time or two earlier this year. I want to give a shout out to Mo Dingo, especially for his awesome standalone segments that he's been doing recently, including the one that was in this show for the news segment. I really appreciate his go, go, go attitude, and you know how Mo is. He's always pushing us to be better humans, So thank you for that. And Mo, I'm sorry you couldn't be in studio today. We'll catch back up with you in the next few weeks and record some great stuff. Now, of course, we're going to be taking some time off in January, as we do every year. We'll be using that time to record a bunch of great new podcast episodes and YouTube videos. So just a few reminders of where you can follow us. Of course, there's youtube.com/passionatedj for podcast episodes and other great DJ-related videos. Or you can use your favorite podcast app on your phone for listening on the go. We're continuing our quest for 10,000 followers on Instagram, so follow Passionate DJ. And then, of course, there's the Passionate DJ community group on Facebook. The easiest way to get to that is passionatedj.com/community, and that's where all the discussion happens. And then we'll go ahead and throw in a link for SoundCloud as well. If you go to soundcloud.com/passionatedj, we started putting music up there again. And if all goes well with the algorithms and such, we'll be putting these sets there without all the talking so that you can just listen to the music straight up. And with all that, thank you so much for listening to episode 213 of the Passionate DJ Podcast.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa.
Merry New Year.
Happy Hanukkah. Diwali's already passed, but
I was like, I'm not sure where that lands date-wise, but it's in there somewhere.
Winter solstice.
That's
just
right.
happened.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good vibes all around. Man.
Amen. All right.
Love you guys. Love you too.
Keep on spinning.
One of Twitch's high-profile users, Pokimane. Check. Unique New York. Check. 1, 2. I look to be in focus. I'm in focus. Alright. And the Amazon man is about to die. Or, I'm sorry, the Amazon person. As my jackals are ever vigilant. We will wait for them to retrieve the carcass